I think if people want to make something as good as they can make it, you ought to also first look around and see who is making good product. And in the small meat processor business, many processors are willing to share some tips, and talking or seeing them make something like that would be helpful.
Hello, me folks. Welcome back to the MeatsPad podcast. Today we continue with the very important conversations. We just had a candid conversation on funding, how to get money from the various programs from USDA. And now I ran into Dr. Schafer, Professor Emeritus at K-State. He's been judging cured meat products for more than 50 years, and I think this was overdue. This conversation was overdue. Welcome.
Well, you got me before I died, at least.
Don't say that. You were saying, tell me a little about your background. A lot of folks, especially all the new membership at AAMP that haven't met you. I would like to so you can give a little bit of introduction about your background. I know there's a lot of information that you're going to provide us today about how to make a winner product and just to get an award. So,
well, my background goes back to being growing up on a farm in Minnesota. Some would say Minnesota. Early childhood, I remember a slaughter on my home farm, which would have been the last year of Second World War, 1946. Others of my family came over with a steer and a pig, and as a 5-year-old, I remember that. That was not done anymore after that. At that point in time, we took livestock to a local, at that time, grocery store that had a small slaughter facility at the back of the grocery store, which many of the small meat processors currently in existence kind of started out that way, where they might slaughter 1 or 2 or 3 animals a week and supply the local community fresh meat. Well, when I went to college, my older cousin, who's now 95, recommended that I get a job at the meat laboratory at the University of Minnesota, which is where the first meat lab in the whole world was established in 1907. And I was there in 1959-60, and I spent 2.5, 3 years while I was in college working in the meat laboratory there. Since been torn down, a new one built there in 1965, and the next coming year now, the annual reciprocal meat conference of the American Meat Science Association will be held on Minnesota campus, St. Paul campus.
Which was held here not long ago.
Yes.
Back in June.
Yeah, we're in Des Moines, Iowa at the present time for the AAMP meeting, but the RMC was held here, the 75th anniversary, a month ago.
Yeah, I was going to get you to talk during RMC. Was like, I'm going to see you at AAMP anyway. So I really want to talk about your experience judging cured meats. Please tell us how that started.
Well, working in a meat laboratory, we did a little bit of curing, and I had other acquaintances in that early experience that had been working with sausage company in the Twin Cities area. So I got acquainted with that. And then when I worked at South Dakota State, Brookings, managing the meat lab there for a while I was doing my master's degree, we had a whole bunch of backed up meat that had been frozen that we didn't have a market for. So I started making some sausage products there while I was a master's student, and we cured meat too. And anyhow, so I've had some experience with that. And then when I got to K-State and finished a PhD. My first job was to be extension specialist, working with our small meat processors, among many other things, with livestock producers and carcass evaluation, all that sort of thing, and 4-H kids and what meat cuts come from their animals and those kind of things. But anyhow, working with the small meat processors, we had at that time 2 classes of cured meats, bone-in hams and bacon. And so the first couple of years I was judging, I guess, probably they could bring 2 hams to make sure one of them was good. Anyhow, I think around 30 hams and probably around 20-some bacon. So I'd be judging 50-some products, which made you very oversalted by the time you were done. Anyhow, so that was in 1971, 72 when I started. And as time went on, our processors started being interested in dried beef and summer sausage. They started making more sausage things. And now at AAMP here, there are 29 different classes of a variety of products. So anyhow,
A lot of progress.
I think you wanted to talk about ham some point. But
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, what is your favorite cured meat product first?
Well,
And I put you
favorite, well, I always enjoyed summer sausage, and one of the previous conventions here, I had a uncooked but cured summer sausage from a processor in Wisconsin that I thought was the best naturally fermented summer sausage that I'd ever tasted. And as it turned out, when we finished judging a class here, we put all of the champions against each other to choose a best of show. And that year, all of the colleagues that had judged all the other classes also found that summer sausage the best product of show, and that was kind of a highlight. So I enjoy summer sausage. I enjoy almost everything, even Braunschweiger or liver sausage.
sausage.
And some people don't like it, but I do.
Yeah, especially with all the byproducts and trying to make product off of
Absolutely.
things.
Everything used but the curl in the pig's
There
tail,
you
and they
go.
don't have tails most of the time anymore, or their squeal.
You told me also about the analogy. Like if you're a good meat judge,
It helps in choosing your mate as
There you
well.
go.
To
yeah, I just
choose
love that.
choose the right one.
How to make the best summer sausage? And I think it's a very ambiguous question, but maybe you can provide some tips and information for folks that want to enter product next year. I mean, this year it's not possible anymore, but maybe some broad meat processing tips for folks wanting to either start manufacturing summer sausage, and maybe you can help us from your experience that you have.
Well, I think if people want to make something as good as they can make it, you ought to also first look around and see who is making good product. And in the small meat processor business, many processors are willing to share some tips, and talking or seeing them make something like that would be helpful. There probably are some online I don't know, all the ways that Instagram or something ways that
a lot
you
of
could
social media and on the
you
website.
could access some of those sorts of things. But then you have to kind of evaluate, well, what looks good, because if it doesn't look good first, many people are not going to be attracted to it. And so when we evaluate products, the first thing is the appearance of the product, and that might be the combination of meat and fat that's in a product and the distribution of it so that it kind of looks appealing. And then most of our processed meat products are going to be smoked. So
As simple as good stuffing and a good clipper can help you out a lot, doesn't it?
yes, all of yeah,
And it just looks.
having good equipment to be able, if we're talking summer sausage, to be able to stuff it well in the casing, and then to have it in a good smokehouse that can apply smoke and have humidity at the right time and all of those other things. There's a lot that goes into making a top-notch product. We were earlier going to talk about curing hams. Well, I said the first thing is to find a good pig, because if you're depending on the bone-in ham and the shape of the ham, there are some pigs that would probably come from the jungle or wild boars that don't have the same muscle structure and shape and size that would be quite as attractive as some of our modern pigs.
And this is a good topic. So selecting a good carcass conformation, a good pig.
If we're talking whole muscle things, yes.
What are some of the tips for, like, say I'm slaughtering and processing 50 pigs a day, 100 pigs a day, and I want to select that pig that's a bony ham that can have an award?
To be a competition one, because I mean you're going to use them all, and they probably all will taste good if you do all the things right. But if you want a competition one, why you want nice shape, just like a beauty contest, to have some full muscle structure that is appealing to the eye.
Like what would be something that you will focus on when selecting that right carcass? Just simple thing.
Well, some
the confirmation of the.
I mean, if you were talking about cattle, which some people might have a wider range of shapes, a Holstein cow is produced only for its milk production, so you're not worried about its muscle size or shape. And they're kind of angular, have a lot of they're tall and big boned, and wouldn't be what you would choose for the shape to be in a competition for meat production, because their main function would be for milk production, and you're not looking for what I'd call a beefy structure like the beef breeds that we raise. Well, similarly in pigs, there are different varieties of pigs. Almost all of them that are used for meat production, domestic meat production, are pretty well muscled. But when I started working with pork producers and the pigs that they raised, the loin sizes, the pork chop muscle, was sometimes less than 3 square inches. Well, now we have a lot of sheep, which are smaller animals, that have larger ribeyes than that. Mm-hmm. And so they had very inadequate muscle. And at that time, pigs were raised not only for meat, but for the fat. And as time has gone on, we don't want our meat animals to be as fat as they used to be. It used to be for lard production. We didn't have soybean oil and all the other vegetable oils back 60 years ago. Now we do. So we don't need fat on animals, not a lot. We need little to make it taste good when it's cooked.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap up, I think you mentioned, we talk about bony hams, we talk about summer sausage. I like to talk about bacon. Mm-hmm. And following up on the good carcass, mostly for like a breed that it's made for meat production. Tell us about bacon. How do you select a winner or a product that it's worth putting for a competition for bacon?
Well, it should have a fair amount of muscle in it, but the main reason that we have bacon is to fry it or microwave it. And the fat is what gives it flavor. In addition, we also smoke bacon so that it gets the smoky aroma too. And like with ham, why you'd like to have what I'd call a meat-type pig. Well, in presenting bacons for competition, I was just visiting with Dr. Bobby Dandler, who is judging a class as we just before we came in to record this, and he was talking about some of the bacons that are being presented, and they're being presented as a whole slab. It would be before you would see it sliced, like most people would see it in a package. And the slabs are being presented overly trimmed.
Okay.
And he says, well, that doesn't really make much sense. At this point in time, bacon is a very profitable item and very desirable by many people in all kinds of food and even on tops of hamburgers. You get a slice of bacon on it, or you get bacon bits and salads and all kinds of things. Anyhow, the point being that anything that you can present as bacon makes you money, and you shouldn't over trim it because you're trimming away a fair amount of the profit of making the bacon in the first place.
Yeah, even one cut that wasn't meant to be on that.
Mm-hmm.
But it can get you
should
some points deducted, and also on the price wise, right? You have to be very strategic in how you cut it, because you can lose money.
Yes, exactly. And over trimming them before you make the bacon is not a profitable venture. You ought to use everything that can be called a bacon as bacon.
As bacon. Thank you a lot for your time. I think this has been great. There's a lot of more information that I'm gonna get back to you.
Kind of wide ranging, but for my career of 50 some years plus, it's been a good ride. There's been a lot of interesting things that have happened, and a lot of fun people to get acquainted with, and it's been fun.
What would you tell to Dave Schafer back in 1970? Like, if you were able to do that right now?
Well, looking back, I think of the several forks in the road that one could take, and I could have been drafted into the service rather than going on for a master's degree, and I'm sure I would have ended up we spent 2 years in India as a meat specialist back in the late 1960s, and we've toured several places in the world since then. And the folks that we've gotten acquainted with and the things we've seen wouldn't have happened if I hadn't worked in the meat laboratory way back 60 years ago.
Any tip for new meat scientists, new grad students that are starting in this business?
Well, fortunately, people enjoy eating meat. Not everybody, but many people enjoy eating meat, and so there's a market for it. And there's a need for bright young people to figure out how to keep the industry profitable and successful. And you don't have to grow up on a farm to do that. You can come into it a variety of ways. But a good way for many people is through 4-H or FFA in high school, and then to follow through some in college. And people that also get business degrees can learn about meat too if they want to. It's an exciting field.
Absolutely. A good time to be in the meat industry.
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Schafer. I appreciate all you've done for not only for us right now, but for all the industry, meat industry, for all more than 50 years of service and helping and being supportive. Thank you a lot for your time, and we'll see you soon at K-State.
All right. Thank you, Francisco, and on over and out.